tonight on Pure Country Reacts, I know that the Army's been waiting for this. I know they've probably already seen it, but what we're going to be doing tonight is Lexi is going to be critiquing and theorizing symbolisms for me, myself, and Jungkook.
Time differences, photoshoot sketch.
Yes. So, we already got Jimin's out there, and so we've moved on to Jungkook, and she's looked at some of this and said he's not using a ton of symbolism, but what is there, she is going to give her theory only. This is not anything that she obviously knows. This is what she sees with the symbolisms and the direction of the photo shoot. And what else did you say it was? It's a concept. I'm bad with words, but I'm here to keep things moving. So anyway, the one who like is all about the analyzing and the body language and the symbolisms, that's Miss Thang here. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what she thinks about Jungkook's what'd you call it again?
Photoshoot sketch.
Photoshoot sketch.
Anyway, okay, we already got a little bit of a similar setup to Jimin's, sort of kind of empty in here with the candlelight.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference between his and Jimin's is that Jimin's was a plastic light and this one is actually candlelight.
Right, and it's on Abra's, and there are numerous.
Mm-hmm. It's like a circle around, I guess, where he sleeps.
Yeah,
well, technically, vampires don't sleep, because I heard that Cookie wanted to go with the vampire theme, so I already know that one.
And that's actually pretty cool, because guess what? We're vampire fans in our house. Well, my husband likes Frankenstein, but she and I are vampire fans. So this is...
Well, like any mystical creature.
Right, well, this is obviously I think is an interesting concept from what little bit that I've seen.
See, this thing, there's a lot of golden candles, which basically like would represent elegance. It's typically, and especially riches. You know, some flowers over here. And so it's bright so far, but if it's a vampire thing, then you shouldn't be in the daylight.
But we also know that he's actually sort of kind of nodding his head or tipping his hat, if you will, to the Edward character
Twilight franchise.
And the Twilight franchise, which is a really good direction because those vampires could be out
in daylight
and during the day, exactly.
But except they couldn't be in direct sunlight otherwise.
Exactly, and that's why they were living in Washington State, because it rained all the time.
It was cloudy and it rained all the time, and then the couple of days it wasn't cloudy, then they had to leave.
Exactly. So we think about his idea with the bracelet. You see anything with the bracelet?
It partly looks like it either looks like a type of leaf or dragon.
I think it looks like a dragon, but you know me, I can't tell. Hopefully there'll be maybe another view of it. He's also gone with golds as well.
I think it is a dragon. So from what I can tell, this bracelet that Cookie's wearing, it looks like a gold dragon. I have no idea if that's what it really is or not, but once we get another view of it. But gold dragons typically represent wealth, power, prosperity, and strength, so...
And I would say that with the vampire and the dragon, those would both loosely represent strength maybe for him, because vampires they live forever.
And typically vampires are very wealthy just because of how long they live. Because they would have so much time to do different projects to get
Learn
wealthy.
Different things. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To own businesses. And that's the thing is, as a business owner, you'd never die.
Yes, you just have to keep moving around.
Or you'd have to just keep like changing your look and your identity.
So I think too that the shirt sort of is also in with that whole vampire-esque thing, because he's obviously wanting to go back to maybe an older kind of vampire, maybe.
Yeah, definitely a different century.
And what was it you was saying before about the semblance of vampires?
Well, vampires typically represent power, speed, strength, and sometimes they represent inner insecurities of who you want to be.
Good.
And I think it's interesting, we got a little bit of blue lighting here, and we have a little bit of red lighting here, which is like far different contrasts of each other, because typically the red represents, you know, power, death, danger, warning, passion, and then there's white that's calmness, serenity, innocence. Just very different lights compared to, but in the same photo too. That's interesting.
And was he fully sitting? No, that the red is actually that's good.
All right, now the red's coming on him. But if you actually looked in the white lighting, he looks sweaty and tired, which I guess would represent the vampire's vulnerability in the sunlight.
Could.
Which I mean, and you do think about it. Oh, he's actually covering his eyes there.
Yeah.
See, that is a dragon. That looks like what it is. I'm not sure.
It sort of kind of does look like that, or some kind of bird or
plant or something. I have no idea. But he's covering his eyes too, which typically is a in body language is a blocker from people. It's like it's something you don't want them to see of you, even if it's not a bad thing. It's just typically
so it's like a defense, maybe.
Yeah. Which I mean, it could be for the vampire aspect, or it could be something else. I'm not sure how far Cookie thought into this. I mean, because I really think a lot of them use a lot of symbolism in their songs. But that's more of like a Sugar and Jimin thing. They mostly do the symbolisms. Let's see. It's an interesting little backdrop. But I think, honestly, the red showing on him is more of like what he's trying to defend against. Because the red's not behind his face. It's like his hand is covering.
So he's shielding himself from that light?
Yeah.
Or what the light represents, I guess.
Yeah. See, none of those are white.
Yeah, then that's white light. So maybe this is in between. I know it looks like he is being shown.
Yeah, what his work did. Like I said, this is all them,
and he looks like he's approving of it. Yeah, the shirt is going back to almost like what 18th century
I can
stuff.
See, there's little glitter. I see glitter on his cheeks.
That was the nod to Twilight, because as we all know that the vampires in Twilight had the glitter. They were supposed to like really shine in the sun, which is why they avoided the sunlight.
That's a cool little idea.
Yeah.
I like that little hint of his fan to the Twilight franchise. I love it.
Exactly.
Let's see. See, look, I love that. It's so subtle too. I like the subtleness of it. He didn't want to go overboard on it, which is a good thing.
Right, exactly. And he's got the golds in the back as well. The whites, the golds.
Which typically is like elegance, but the whites is very interesting because, of course, that's typically purity and innocence. Now, as usual, there's no English. For some reason, this computer won't allow us to get English translations.
And I don't know if it's whoever posted it or what. They may not have it to where you can translate it. Maybe later on we'll know, but she had already read that, or saw it in some kind of a story where he was going with the vampire type.
Well, it had popped up on my Google feed because I had no idea they were doing concepts until I saw Cookie had released his and said he wanted to go with the vampire theme. So
yeah. Well, I think too that maybe even with vampires, they're mysterious.
Yeah, and I mean, and really you think about it, vampires who are able to be out during the day have to put on a persona, and then they have to be mysterious and hidden away with their true identity.
Exactly. So maybe he is using this as some symbolism in a way.
In a way. I mean, because you think about it, why would something speak so strongly to him to make it a theme?
Unless he was just fanboying. Which I don't ever see him fanboy about much.
I think, because honestly, I think when something comes to you and just sticks with you as an idea, I think your subconscious tries to piece together your feelings with something.
Or maybe it speaks to you because of...
Well, yeah, well, that's what I mean is, because typically when you have dreams, you have really wacko dreams. I'm sure some of you, if you do remember your dreams, they're pretty weird
sometimes.
And if you actually look up the dream symbolisms, they are not directly what they mean in your dream, but it does associate with you a hidden part of you that either you are keeping down or you haven't acknowledged yet. And I think, because the first thing he thought of, I'm sure, was of vampires. Well, vampires must associate with him in some form of way. Mm-hmm. Not for the seductiveness. Don't get me started on that.
Not for the sexuality.
Because vampires, just like I said with the Jimin video, white and black are very simple things, but they have a lot of meanings. Vampire is a simple mythological idea, but it has a lot of meanings to it.
It really does. So, which parts are the ones that he likes, I guess the most? Maybe it's the more of the mysterious, the hidden,
I would say, and also the insecurity.
And what about the hidden but in plain sight kind of thing too?
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah.
So, because I think, honestly, and I've said this before, and I'm sure y'all get tired of it, but I mean, it's the truth. They have to put on a persona when they go out to meet fans, perform in front of audiences, go to interviews across the country, across the world, photo shoots. They have to put on a persona that's not truly them, because their producers want them to, and their fans want them
exactly.
to.
So they give what is asked of them.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, if this was truly how their personalities were, don't you think they'd behave that way on Bon Voyage, Run BTS, and Gaio?
Exactly.
They would behave that way all throughout, even during interviews. They would behave that way. But if you pay close attention around the times when they do interviews, they're very shy, they're very closed off, they're very intimidated by different people. They have no idea. And they respectfully don't look at women a lot of times. So do you really think that they're these seductive womanizers?
Exactly. It's definitely not them. They're more, I would say, considering what we've looked into about the culture in South Korea, these guys are very conservative.
Pretty modest.
They're very modest, and they appreciate tradition a lot.
See, and I know you might disagree with me, but because I'm a aura reader and body language person, when they were performing in America this recently, not Hobie, but like the whole entire group together, Jungkook and Jimin had to wear a fleece-like shirt to show more of their chest and abdomen. You could tell they weren't completely comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And then when they got back to Korea and they wore their traditional coverage,
right,
they were a lot calmer and happier in that stuff.
Right. There's definitely with the exposure and stuff, that's something. And that's something that I think a lot of the companies do with a lot of their K-pop artists, even with the females. The females aren't used to walking around dressed in, really, really short skirts and stuff, and you can tell that they're uncomfortable with it, especially when they go and, say, sit down in an audience somewhere at a show or something. They cover their legs up with a jacket. So these are things that they are required to do for the fan base
and for the money.
Exactly. So he obviously, maybe it's like you say, is hiding in plain sight.
I mean, because you think about it, they used to complain about how certain members were just too cute for the persona they were trying to put on.
Right.
And typically, when it comes to introverts, because I'm an introvert, I understand how introverts think. When people criticize you, you want to act on that criticism. As we've seen with Jungkook and Jimin, they both are the ones who mostly act on criticisms based on what fans say. Even if it's the most hurtful thing in the world, they still act on it. Whether it's dangerous, whether it's not good for their health, I mean, they do it. And I've seen when they complain about how cute they act, it probably, because usually in V Lives, people for some reason get in there and complain about how girly they look or how cute they are, instead of how they should be handsome and I guess have higher testosterone, I guess you would say. And immediately they have to start acting sexy immediately afterwards.
Right.
I mean, it's just criticisms that they follow, but it's, like I said, it's hidden in plain sight, but it's like, you're criticized for being yourself, so you have to act different. So if you think about it, vampire, he's truly a vampire, but he has to act like human.
Yep. I mean, that totally makes sense. If that is the direction that he was going in, then I can totally understand that.
I mean, I would get why most of them would have this kind of theme, just because, like I said, they have to behave
in a certain manner
against their principles or against what their souls are really like. And I've already mentioned before, Jungkook and Jimin have the most pure, innocent souls I've seen. And they have to act completely opposite, and you can tell they get very uncomfortable with that.
Right.
And I really hurt for them. I do.
I wouldn't want to have to live that lifestyle.
No, because I would honestly be, me as a Leo person, I'm like, you're not going to tell me to act a certain way. I'm going to act the way I am, and you're just going to have to like it.
Yeah. Is there a genre for me? All right, so what else do we see in here?
But I really love the gold and the white accents. It's so pretty, and it definitely brings out the glitter.
And I think, too, with the golds and stuff, that's also still in line with the older top vampire background.
I mean, you think about it, most of the older, before Twilight, a lot of the older vampire movies or TV shows, they're typically in these huge mansions and they're surrounded by like a bunch of gold because they're so rich.
Yeah, and it's usually in and around the 17 or 1800s that some of these movies were based on.
Most of them were until Twilight happened, and then we had several TV shows that came out that were more present time with vampires, but the past ones, because I've seen many vampire movies because of this one, a lot of them were set in an earlier century than now. So.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not 20th century vampires. So this is, I think he's going for the Twilight, but maybe in a little back. Maybe he's just a little older. I mean, I like it, and I think some of that stuff is sort of kind of regal a little bit. The decorations or the etchings in the curtains and stuff, and lots of golds.
He even has to do his hands a little bit. Like I said, I like the subtlety of it. See now it's dark around there. Now he's wearing. He's looking at his work. He's like, yep.
He likes it. He's thrilled with it.
I know people who have seen Attack on Titan. Episode 7, season 1 of Attack on Titan has a pomegranate in it. I'm sure people wondered, what in the world does a pomegranate mean? It represents life and health. So if you really think about it, he's a vampire. So he would drain from life. Especially if it's a broken pomegranate. If it was a full pomegranate, then that'd be something different. But
right.
See, inner self.
And the focus is on that, and really not so much the apples and the grapes back there.
Inner self.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like we said, he's a vampire on the inside, but he has to behave like a human.
Right,
look
because
like a human.
Vampires would blend in with everybody else if they could be out during the day.
And they would also be looked down upon if they were to be themselves in public.
They'd be shunned.
Yeah.
If they showed their true selves.
I really think that's what Cookie's going for.
Maybe almost like Jimin a little bit.
Not as deep as Jimin, because Jimin has like so much pain built up in him that he exerted a lot of it in his concepts, which is, that hurts me. Anyway, I can tell that he's also the same way Cookie is, because they both are typically the ones that act cute, and that's just their personalities in general. But then they have to behave like grown men. They have to show off their chest. They have to show off their muscles and all that, and it's just... It's really not necessary for them to look like a man to be that. So,
what do you think about the rose petals? And wonder if that's
rubies.
Yeah, I mean, it looks a little. It almost looks a burgundy-ish to me, but I do think it's supposed to be like a ruby.
Okay, so there's a distinct similarity but difference with this picture because of the red. But red rose petals mean something similar but very different from red rubies. I'm assuming that's probably what this is, but I'm sure not an actual ruby, because why would you want to spend that much money on a necklace?
Yeah,
but red rose petals typically are representative of passion and sacrifice. Now, if you think about it, even though we're going with the vampire thing, how much has Cookie had to sacrifice to be famous?
The younger ones definitely sacrificed their teen years.
So basically, he sacrificed a lot of his life,
his youth,
and also his true self, because I'm sure he doesn't get to be himself that often. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? But if you think about it, the three young ones especially, and I think those three are the most affected by this whole becoming into fame and having to put on, because they're the three that people expect most from. They have to be very seductive, attractive, passionate, but they do have passion in their singing and their dancing, but they have to act
a certain way
that's not them. And and the thing is they've sacrificed a lot of themselves to do all of this. And I'm sure they sacrificed a lot of their mental health.
Yeah. And what about the rubies?
And ruby necklace is typically representative of wealth and prosperity, but also represents raw emotion.
Well, I definitely don't think he would be going for wealth and prosperity
I think, honestly, because, necklaces are meant to be worn over the chest.
Mm-hmm.
So that would represent raw emotion.
That's what I think.
So I think, honestly, this is just him showing his sacrifice deep in his soul that he's had to go through. I think why would a vampire just stick out so much to him?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Looks like that's a bow up there, but I don't know what that is.
There's not really much symbolism to gold necklaces, but from recent, I guess, cultures, you'd say, people tend to find certain metals have spiritual properties, just like silver, like copper. Gold has spiritual properties, as some cultures believe, that it gives them happiness and stability.
Don't know what that is at the bottom.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the design he wanted.
No, could. I don't know if it has significance. That looks like a bow over, I don't know, a dagger or something. I don't know if that's one piece or what it is.
I guess it's like a sword or like a dagger.
Yeah.
Which would represent, courage. So those
If that's what it is.
Those typically represent like courage, and you think about it, he has that over this region as well. So
right. So if that is a sword or a dagger, then that could be the symbolism behind that. So we're not exactly sure. I would like to know what that means, though. That thing. See, even look, the phone is very old. So yeah, he's going with the Twilight, but back in the older days.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
And I find it interesting. The background is getting darker.
It is, because we began with the light,
shining,
the reds and the light, and now we're going sort of dark.
He smeared the lipstick so it looked like he just bit into somebody.
I guess so. He didn't want to go for gore.
Yeah, no. Of course, it has to have that quote-unquote sex appeal, otherwise it wouldn't be accepted. But it's like the subtlety that counts.
Right, exactly. It's steel, and so
it looks like he's got red contacts in. So he was going for like the human vampires that were the human eaters.
Oh, okay.
Because since he's such a Twilight fan, he would have done gold eyes if he was trying to go for a vegetarian.
Right. Well, what about the symbolism of the blood? Would we even go there, or do you think he's just showing that, or maybe he's going to show the red eyes and the gold eyes? Maybe, I don't know. Because there was a difference in Twilight. If you've never saw Twilight, God, what was their names? They were the Cullens, and when they needed to feed, their eyes always looked like gold or amber, but as they grew in hunger, their eyes would turn red.
I mean, blood does have symbolisms, but a lot of times it's kind of indiscernible which one he's going for, unless it's just for the accentuation of the vampire theme. But typically, blood is like has like good and bad opposites.
Well, doesn't blood also represent life? I guess too.
Yeah, it represents life and redemption.
But obviously, that's not the focus here. I think that's maybe to
accentuate the vampire.
That
theme.
it's supposed to be vampire.
Yeah, definitely a old-fashioned theme in here.
Exactly.
Even with the design of the chair, because most chairs nowadays aren't designed like that.
No. Exactly.
He's definitely gone crazy with the piercings.
Well, he
that.
missed a lot of his teen years where he could sow those wild oats. That is one piece, it looks like, on the necklace. So I think he's showing his approval for where it's going. Oh, see, now look at that. That is really great. That is absolutely the vampire there.
See, that's definitely very different.
The red and the white.
I'm trying to think because, what's that considered? That, like, piece around his neck? or is it just a big frilly shirt?
That's just that's just the kind of shirts that they wore back then. But see, I think that jacket is almost supposed to look like the cape in a way too, like the original Dracula was, maybe.
Just more elegant, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very interesting now they're doing a red lighting.
And you said that the red was...
Well, I mean, red has like I said, a lot of symbolism. If I can figure out which direction you're going, because of course red does have positives, but it does have some negatives.
And since we're not really sure which direction he's going with that, I don't think obviously he would be going in the direction of the violence.
I mean, because typically it represents life, health, war, courage, anger, passion, but it also represents, I guess, healing in a way. Even though green is more of the color for healing, but red also can symbolize healing, depending on how you use it.
Obviously, too, if a vampire drank blood, that would also give them
health,
and life, healing. If you want to talk about Blade.
I would get tired doing these photo shoots. I'd be like, dude, only do 3 shots of me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I obviously it's to make sure that they
Right now, that's a very different outfit. It's like black and red. He was wearing black and white.
Right, and those are the red ones, I guess.
Red contacts.
We'll see.
See, now it's a completely nighttime
Different,
setting.
yeah.
It just got darker each time. And if you think about it, now he looks more energized in this setting because now he can be himself at night.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I think it doesn't seem like a positive direction just because of how it went from light to dark. Because typically that's not a good sign when people go from light to dark.
Well, I guess it depends on what he's trying to convey, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, it could represent, you know, happiness to depression. It could be the darkening of a person's soul. I mean, it could be so many different things. Or it could just be like how you're fine one minute, but then there's like a cloud over your head the next. It could be many different internal things that he's trying to convey, explain. So that's definitely really dark.
It is, and then there's the red light, too.
Yeah, he grew his hair out.
Yeah, it is getting longer.
I do like when they grow their hair out because it does frame their face good.
And she likes it. They stick to their natural colors as well.
Yeah, I like
too.
their natural hair. I don't like it when they have to color it up with color because their producers tell them to. Now, if they genuinely wanted to color their hair in a color they liked, then that's cool. But I know a lot of times they have to color it because the producers want them to.
He must be cold.
Oh yeah, because it looks like it's really cold outside.
Yeah, because he's got those warming
heating
things.
Sorry, I wouldn't be able to film in the dark woods. See, now he's out in nature.
Yep, there's some little warm things. Okay, looks like we're getting a little fog action, maybe.
Almost seems like the original werewolf theme. With the fog outside.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, though, with the original vampire.
Oh, angel statues. It's like there's goddess statues. That's really pretty. I guess that's the outside of the house.
Maybe.
Okay, I think it has been snowing.
Yeah. I seen the breath come out of his mouth a minute ago.
Oh, Lord. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to do that.
I don't know if they're all angels, though, because
yeah, that's what I said. There's like goddesses or
Yeah.
something, and then there's angels on the other side. So I guess it's the outside of his huge house. So there's smoke, but it's also red fog. So, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I'm not sure if he's really thought far into the symbolism. I know Jimin does, but red fog typically represents protecting of your feelings, and it's also, like, I guess you'd say a protection blocker. Makes you think about it, if the fog is thick enough, you won't be able to see through it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the darker it is with the red hue added to it.
Right.
Dude, are you not freezing your ass off? I'd be cold.
He might not be outside anymore, though.
Oh, he's still outside.
Yeah, so there's an Angel.
Do you at least have a heater on him? Because he has, like, this one jacket on, and I know that's not going to keep him warm.
He must have finished with that. He's probably...
Ooh, yeah, I see the breath coming out of his mouth. Take me home. I'm going to have to surround myself with some heaters, blankets, and a fireplace.
And cozy socks. Fluffy, thick, cozy socks.
Time difference. Which, I mean, would make sense because it was daylight before, and then as we went through, it started to get later in the day, and then it was night, so that makes sense, time difference.
Yeah, so I guess that's what it means, is time difference. Yeah. And like she said before, he did not use a whole lot of symbolism. There's just some subtle things in there, so you can really only ponder why he went for the vampire, and the direction of that. It could just be the mystery of it. It could be the long life. It could be like Lexi thinks, it could be I'm this one way and then I have to be this another way, you know. So I mean, it's all left up to interpretation. So,
and like I said, I don't know how far in he thought about the symbolisms, or they could have just been subconscious symbolisms that he didn't know about. I mean, I'm not really sure, but it wasn't as many as Jimmy's, but there was some in there.
Right, there was. So, anyway, is this supposed to be the first one?
The first one.
So, this is the first one. There's 2 other out there. So, if you hadn't done it, make sure that you check out the theories that she had for the Jimin concepts. Those have done very well, and those, I think, spoke to people. The way that it spoke to her, especially with the symbolisms and stuff, almost like dreams, everything sort of kind of means something. So if he hasn't thought it all the way through, then, you know, maybe these could be coincidences, but obviously that spoke to him and he wanted to do that. And I thought it was very interesting, considering that we, like I say, we are vampire fans anyway. And but be sure to check that out. RMs will be coming up, you know, probably within the next week as well. It's just good to try to look at what their ideas are, and maybe what they've incorporated in there, as well as what we've seen just in videos and interviews and photos and things like that. You know, you sort of kind of try to put all of that together to figure out maybe what they're trying to convey, or what they're saying, or what does this say about them. So, you know, it's all up for interpretation, and this is just what Lexi thinks. So don't take it as scripture, because it ain't. And if you hadn't done it already, please subscribe, share our videos with friends and family. If you're just visiting, we hope you stick around. And until part 2 of Jungkook, me, myself, and Jungkook, peace.